hi, I'm Arsha Vahabzadeh, presenting from CES 2018 at the Digital Health Live studio, and I'm joined by Pat Keran, who is the Senior Director of Innovation R&D at UnitedHealthcare. Pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks for having me today.
So there was just an outstanding panel that you were part of. Can you tell me a little bit about the key highlights for you from that panel?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we had Brian Adams up there from Great Call. We had Stephanie up there, formerly from Humana there. And it's really interesting to understand how everyone is looking at the whole healthcare space when it comes to the elderly population and how do we engage with them. And I think we're all on the same spectrum of thinking here of technology is an enabler. It's still the human element of how we care for the individual. Technology is just a way to use as a medium that we can integrate into their lifestyles and try to do that as simply and as personalized as possible, not make it overly complex, because if I'm a 90-year-old individual that has dementia, I don't have dexterity, I don't have maybe memory, I'm not going to remember to put on my watch, my wearable, other things. So how do we integrate in that whole lifestyle of engagement? And that's one of the things that we're looking at, is that whole ecosystem, because something such as a wearable may work for one individual, but may not work for another. So we have to come up with a spectrum of how do we engage better.
And passive sensors seems to have come up quite a number of times.
Yep.
What's the advantage of passive sensors in this context?
So looking at more of the history is all in the data. So the data is going to tell you then, from a historical standpoint, how do we engage with this individual, and what are the potential issues as we start taking that data and those data measures of that ongoing engagement. So can we start using that as a predictive nature now, knowing the baseline of an individual to say, all right, if we see the person's gait shrink a little bit, or if we see the heart rate increase a little bit, are those leading indicators for something bigger that may happen? And can we get in front of it then from an engagement standpoint? So data is big.
Data is big, and there's a lot of other emerging technologies
Yes.
on the horizon. We've heard a little bit about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
There's a lot of talk about blockchain. Where do you see these new technologies being positioned and utilized going forward?
Absolutely, and I think from a healthcare standpoint, we are definitely further behind other industries when it comes to blockchain, artificial intelligence. Still very new, cutting edge, but we see it in many different places. So artificial intelligence is a very broad area here. So we see it anywhere from deep learning and data analytics and how we can look at that from a predictability standpoint, to these virtual assistants, Google Home, Amazon Echo, those, and how we can use those as triage mechanisms then with individuals. For example, we're doing a pilot with the Amazon Echo today and Best Buy, using that as a mechanism of put it into the home of an individual who's being cared for, and if they need a wellness coach, it's using that to verbalize, I need a wellness coach. I'm not fumbling with a tablet, a phone, or other things. And then you can take that much further into the augmented reality, virtual reality, the loneliness aspect of it. In fact, we're working with another partner called Hasbro. You may have heard of them, game company. They have a unit called Joy for All that is a robotic dog or pet that helps with the loneliness factor. So very, very intriguing areas of artificial intelligence and how they can really make a difference in multiple different ways.
It sounds like there's really tremendous opportunity with these emerging technologies.
Absolutely.
Pat, I want to thank you very much for your time and your insights.
Yeah, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Arsha Vahabzadeh reporting from CES 2018 from the Digital Health Live studio, presented by UnitedHealthcare, and I was joined by Pat Keran. Thank you.